please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's log, subdates 2303 blah blah blah. You know, with these I sometimes fumble. I think I'm going to leave that in. Over the weekend we managed to get safely back onto the Arcadia and are initiating detonation protocols before Bork's anus does its own version of a detonation, and the slimy prick would probably be the only one to survive too. And breathe. Welcome everyone to This Week at and more reduced Twitter. Because I'm busy, sorry. Or twat. Today we're going to start with Fallout Boy trending on Twitter. They recently announced 2 very small shows comparative to the size they're now more accustomed to in the United Kingdom, one in Manchester and one in London. Oddly enough, the pre-sale for those who were part of the mailing list, I was on that, but I decided to not go with that in favour of going to see Funeral for a Friend. I didn't get tickets at first, and after 2 hours of being quite irritated because I was on that site at 10 AM, 30 seconds later, Roundhouse was sold out. I finally got 2 tickets by chance. Well, the reason they were trending was because Gigs and Tours, who were the ones selling the tickets, had to put out a statement saying we are aware of a small number of Fallout Boy tickets listed on unauthorized secondary resale sites. The majority of these listings are from dedicated commercial ticket touts. Do not purchase from these sites, as they are not genuine or may not be, and in line with the terms and conditions will be cancelling any tickets we find listed. Now the reason I even mention this is because my favourite response to all of that was a B. Didn't get a Fallout ticket, so I blocked Brendan Urie. It's always Brendan Urie's fault, everyone. Always his fault. I highly recommend you all block him. I say we do it anyway, solely for the album Pretty Odd. I think he got quite fortunate that Vices and Virtues really helped rebuild the band's credibility. So let's move on from that and go to some audience participation. Yeti Yef Blue Checkmark tweeted, "What is your first thought when you see this photo? On the bed are lots of those pew pew daka daka things that make orcs really horny. Some bags, I assume for food, and a whammon, I think. My first thought was a thought that many would undoubtedly have. Why are you wearing shoes on the bed? What kind of uncultured swine? What kind of uncivilized prick wears shoes on their bed? I don't care if you've never worn those outside in your life. Those shoes belong in a shoe rack or on your feet when you leave the property. As far as the Daka Daka goes, I assume you'll exchange most of that for some high quality teeth. That is, after all, the valid currency for all good orcs." So another trend worth talking about is erection. Not resurrection by erection, which would have been perfect for me, just erection, sandwiched between the Northern Lights, Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. I have no doubt in my mind Rule 34 applies. Think Jake Paul, Tommy Fury, Northern Lights, shabang-a-bang. I think Moist Critical's response to it is fairly accurate. It is always the aliens' fault, but the actual reason I believe it was trending was because of this tweet, well, this image, of Kanye with yellow paper. Your favourite game, but replace one word with erection. What if the game only has one word? This gets very tricky, although I do keenly await Pokemon Erection Edition. I assume my starter Pokemon will start out quite small, and as it evolves, it gets bigger and bigger, perhaps girthier too. Maybe its super weapon is a form of blast cannon, eh? Now, as this is a bit of an audience participation as well, do in the comments tell me your favourite game, but replace one word from it with erection. If it only has one word, hopefully there is a, let's say, 2nd edition and 3rd edition. So if it's like a game and then it's 1, 2, 3, change the 1 for erection. And there you go. Bish bash bosh. The idea of someone or something being trending this week appears to be a prevalent theme, because we're now going to go to Frogmore Cottage, which was trending. Frogmore Cottage was the United Kingdom residence for Harry and Meghan before they decided to have their Megxit, to sod off to America to preach about the journalists while using the same journalists that they were then parodied for in South Park to get ahead and make money and get attention, acclaim, success, fame, and a brand. Frogmore Cottage was trending because King Charles III has decided they are to be evicted from that residence, as is his right as the landlord. They never come here because they, Harry and Meghan, are too busy arguing over whether or not they are entitled to police security, even though they're worth tens of millions and can afford their own security anyway. But as is well known by those who live in the higher echelons of society or started off from that and still think they're entitled to it, they believe they are, as I mentioned just then, entitled to something as a birthright. I think both you should give back these Sussex titles and Prince Harry should lose the title Prince. Personally, I think he's done enough damage for one lifetime and his book was an absolute train wreck. Their credibility has more holes in it than a Playboy advent calendar from the 90s. Suitable tweets that respond to this accurately: Harkles, Harry and Meghan Markle, we want a public apology or we won't attend the coronation. FYI, they have in fact received an invitation. It would do them well for the sake of face to appear. Their approval rating is in the negatives right now. It could go lower. BP and KP, silence. I assumed BP and KP were Bill, William the Prince, and KP was Kate, Princess. I could be wrong. I actually don't know who BP and KP are. Harkles, never mind, we will take a public apology to wife only. Further silence. Harkles, how about a private apology? BP, here's an eviction notice for Frogmore. Move out. One of the main reasons they were evicted is not just because they're not using it, but also because King Charles wants to try and hide Prince Andrew from public life forever, which is the right thing to do while still supporting his family. So he has offered Frogmore to his brother, as his brother attempts to find ways to redeem himself, which is not possible. We know why, because he settled for millions with those that accused him, rather than prove his innocence. So those negative marks will always be on him. Another tweet, Molly's mama. Huge. Blow to Megsy's ego. They didn't give up Frogmore, but Buckingham Palace has served Harry and Meg with an eviction notice from Frogmore. I'm sure Harry has his own BDM at Montecito. Good thing, or he'd have to pick up one of 16 tubs, chicken coop, or sleep Cockney Cox's home. And with on Twitter pointed out that King Charles the Cruel was also trending. She also tweeted, imagine crying about being kicked out of a home you didn't live in, and that you were very publicly whinged about hating, but still expect sympathy. Wah. The initial claim is that they were shocked to have been evicted. They, of course, for the sake of optics, have said, no, if we need to move out, we'll get ourselves out, fam. No, Swagwell. We've got this, brethren. But just as a final thing about the coronation, many believe that Harry and Meghan will not stay away, because if they do, they fear appearing an irrelevance. I'll be honest, if they don't appear, it will absolutely guarantee there is no path back for either of them. Short of Harry breaking up with Meghan or the other way round and Harry going back without Meghan telling him what to think, Harry is unlikely to remedy, rectify and reconcile with his brother, or because his brother apparently pushed him over. Right. That's grounds for not talking again, apparently. How tragic. So another trending tag of interest. We love Gina Carano. You know, the person who was in The Mandalorian and fired for being conservative, essentially. It certainly fascinated people that a strong, powerful female lost her job when Pedro Pascal, for being an edgy boy, is 100% safe because he toes the line. He doesn't commit wrongthink. Haram! He is goodest of boys. The reason she was trending is because she compared her struggle of being conservative in Hollywood to being Jewish in Nazi Germany. Some tweets from the tag in question. No, we don't. We love Daisy Ridley. What's she even doing at the moment? I feel like her career's gone down the path of Luke Skywalker's. No, the F we don't. I hope she chokes. Anyway, stand these actually strong SW women. Effing hilarious. No, we do not, you effing MAGA cult weirdos. And of course, who the F is we? Literally nobody does support a raging anti-mask, anti-BLM, violent transphobe who sides with white supremacy among other things. I'm sensing an amount of salt, cope, anger, and the trending tag has picked up all the negativity, which is absolutely brilliant, because usually it doesn't. Archive has not done a fail for a change. In this instance, I kinda do support her, because she was essentially cancelled for speaking her mind, being honest. I don't like the idea, the concept of being cancelled, and I'm sure many roll their eyes at it, but then you see what happened to Gina Carano's career, there is a point to it. You can be a pedantic shit about what cancellation means and not being able to speak, but in effect, her star power that she had earned through years of acting, and the respect she earned as a mixed martial artist, apparently mean very little. And by the way, Gina Carano would kick the crap out of Daisy Ridley. Seriously, why would I stand that? Moving on from the trendings, we're going to go to delusional takes. Silly Micah facts. Quote, I hate people on Twitter more. Sticking out tongue sort of thing, yeah? BRP, I assume bro, You're literally supporting murder of my trans friends, WTF. A retweet of Pipkin Pippa, who is streaming first time trying that wizard game. Underneath they also have, I hate this franchise, but I hate trans people and Jewish people even more, so I'm gonna spike them with this. Jesus effing Christ, it never ends. You'll play a game you hate from a franchise you hate to spite trans people you hate even more. Buying and playing a game does not equate in the slightest to the real-life genocide of anyone. And by the way, the so-called genocide, apparently 32 transgender people in the US were killed last year. Much genocide, of course. Director Arcata retweeted the entire delusional take thread with a thread of desperately crafted strawmen stressing the creators precisely are wisely loathed thugs. Pretty much that, to be honest. It's kind of tragic that we're still at this point where people are going out of their way to find a way to cancel or nerf, nuke, barack, harass, abuse somebody for liking a video game. How many times do we have to say this? Wake up, sheeple. Liking the game, playing the game is not equivalent to liking, approving, or condoning J.K. Rowling. You need to, what is that thing I get told to do in concerning Gary Glitter and his music? Oh, that's right. Separate the art from the artist. That said, I take no issue with anything J.K. Rowling has said. I really don't. Are you gonna try and cancel Minnow Me now? I'm terrified. To finish, we're going to read a thread from Count Dankula concerning one of those jockeying for the leadership of the SNP in Scotland. You know, the one-party totalitarian thing that really doesn't know how to manage money, loves to guilt their people and nanny state the feck out of them. Humza Yousaf, the favourite for the SNP leadership race, is trying to become First Minister of Scotland. Nations very often become a reflection of their leader, so it's very worrying when an outspoken authoritarian and closet totalitarian throws his hat in the ring. This speech is what first gained Humza notoriety in the wider sphere. His infamous bile-filled rant about white people occupying most positions of power in a country that is 96% white. Possibly one of the most darkest and foreboding moments in Holyrood history. Holyrood is where the politics happen in Scotland, and that speech is brutal. He is horrendously racist towards white people. Continuing, Humza made it clear that he seems to have an issue with white people holding positions of power in a vast majority white country. He also seems to have a history of only throwing support behind non-white candidates in election bids. This is because Humza has a hyper-focus, almost an obsession, with race, and will try to include it and force it into everything and everything. Most importantly, he will constantly use it as a shield against any criticism for himself or his policies. That would certainly include his hate speech bill. Yes, certainly something. Don't like Humza as a leader? You're racist. Don't like his policies? You're racist. Your arguments, no matter how good, are irrelevant. Sounds like going up against the SNP at this point. He is going to do what he likes and your racist ass just needs to shut up. Maybe it's out there somewhere and I just haven't seen it, but I've yet to see Humza actually take on criticism and adjust his behaviour, instead of using racism as a shield. Which brings us on to Humza's outright authoritarianism. He harps on about human rights this, human rights that, when truth be told, the man has one of the most abysmal human rights records in Scottish history when he was Justice Minister. Before Humza was Justice Minister, he was Transport Minister, and you would think that the Transport Minister would obey transport laws. Not Humza. He was caught driving without a licence, above the laws or something. When Humza became Justice Minister, he pushed forward the Scottish Hate Crime Bill, one of the most authoritarian pieces of legislation that has ever come out of Holyrood. It was so bad, the Law Society barristers, and even the police themselves, were saying it was too far. He basically then becomes the avatar for your nanny state, I'm afraid, Dank. Sorry, man. Although, your other two candidates are equally as abysmal, so you never know. You might get a lesser of three evils, maybe? Can we just, install Gordon Brown? He's boring, but it's Gordon Brown. Worst thing he'll do is bankrupt your country, and your country has no money anyway.